So when a student logs into Nsomo.com, we have laid out Nsomo.com in such a way that for the learner, it's a linear process. It's very simple and it's very clear in terms of what they need to do. They have got menu bars that they can click on, and it's not a lot of information that's there. And so when they log in, they will click on the appropriate menu bar where they will click on a subject that they're interested in. Once they click on that subject, then they can go to the different topics in which they can then watch their videos. And so when they watch the video, what they will go through is in an introduction. So we have configured the videos in such a way that they are somewhat uniform in terms of certain elements that they need to have. So one of the elements that the videos need to have is obviously the title. When you click play on the video, you will see the title, and then you'll be given the outcomes for the lesson. And so the reason why we do this is twofold. First is so that the students know where they are in that process. And secondly, it is to help the students focus in on the most important things that they need to learn in order to say they have successfully gone through that content. And so these outcomes are provided for by the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education has got curricula, and in this curricula you've got syllabus. And then in this syllabi, you are able to determine what the lesson is, what the topic is, what the subtopic is, and what's the accompanying outcome, plus knowledge and skills and other attributes that you need to get out of a lesson. And so we have been building these video lessons in tandem with the curriculum and the syllabi that have been provided by the ministry, so that we're hitting all those targets that the ministry said you need to hit. What is the topic? What is the outcome? And then is there some knowledge that we want the students to get out of that? Is there some skill that we want the student to get out of that? And so on and so forth. So when you click play, you are given the title, you're given the outcome. And then in some cases, we also give you scenarios. And so we're trying to vary our approach. Or for example, one of the scenarios that we would give in a lesson is, rather than saying the outcome for today's lesson is for you to learn how to write a formal letter. Well, so that's the outcome, but then can we put that language in a certain form that will be more practical to the students? And so the way that we have tackled that issue is, in certain cases, we then say, well, rather than saying, learn how to write a formal letter, right, we say, well, think about a time that perhaps you wanted to find a job, or think ahead to a time when you'll be looking for a job. And so how much you communicate with the employer in order to ask for employment. And so you need to write a letter, and that letter that you're going to write is a formal letter. And so in this lesson, we will be looking at how you can write a formal letter. And so that's how we'd set it up, in lieu to saying the outcome for today is to write a formal letter. And so once the student gets past that point, then the content will start to be delivered. And because we know that this is a video, we have tried to encourage some active learning. And when we say active learning, this is the idea that students should be actively participating in the learning process rather than just being passive. And so videos are notorious for sort of being this passive media for the learning process. And we have encouraged our teachers and trained our teachers to provoke the students to do something active. For example, there are certain breaks within the video where the teacher will say, okay, stop, pause the video, think about this scenario, or how would you answer this? Take some notes, write down 1 or 2 answers, and then when you're done, click play again to continue the lesson. And let us see, how well your answers match our answers. And so there are multiple opportunities like that where teachers will typically maybe give an in-video exercise, where again they will give the question to the students, and then they will ask the learners to pause the video. So there's some activity that is going on. Think about what you're going to say. So there's a reflection that's going on, and then write your answers down. And so there's another motion that they have to do. So all those processes of listening, thinking, and writing. And then ultimately, when the video starts to play again, the teacher is going to go through the correct answer or possibly correct answer. And so there are different things that we're doing in order for the students to have a lot of practice in mastering the content. And so that is the active learning component that we're going to build into, that we're built into the models. The other thing that we've built into the models, particularly for things like expressive arts and technology studies, we have actually included demos. And so the model that we have for Nsomo is quite different from what you might think when somebody says, oh, you're going to watch a video. So when the students are taking the lesson, they're not necessarily watching a video of a person per se. Right, so right now you can see me and I'm gesturing, and then you might think this is the type of video that my children will be watching on Nsomo. No, that's not the case. What they see on Nsomo rather is just the whiteboard. So it's a board that they see, and they see text that has been written on the board, and sometimes it's written in real time as a teacher is teaching. And so they're not looking at the person, they're actually looking at the content. And so there's a reason why we're doing that. So part of the reason is that we want students to focus on the board, where we don't want to have a small board sort of over here, right? And then they're squinting to try and read what's in that small board. So rather we have made that board the entire screen, right? And then put it there. And then now all you're focusing on is just the content on the screen. In other cases, what we have done is we have had to create demos. And so when you create those demos, that's when you then get to see a person doing a demonstration. And so some of the demonstrations are very interesting in that maybe it has to do with electricity and how currents flow. And so we have actual demos where you have electric circuits, and then you've got lights and you've got batteries and so on, and then you get switches and you can turn them on and off. And so it's a real life demo. Or it could be a demo on how you can determine whether a leaf of a plant has got chlorophyll. And so we go through that process. So rather than just sort of describing the demonstration, describing the experiment, for the most part, we've been able to actually demonstrate those experiments and those demonstrations so that the students can actually see what is going on. So because of the nature of the medium that we're using, the students cannot independently participate with us in that medium, but what we're doing is we're showing them exactly what they need to do. And so if you have other resources at your school or at home and there's supervision, then those kids can then be able to do those activities at home. And some of the things that we have been able to do, for example, pertaining to computers in technology studies, we are actually demonstrating, this is the start bar. This is the button that you need to press, or here's where you need to click. And so we have a demo that's actually showing the students where to click when you're using a computer, rather than reading static things. So we have gone a step further compared to the book, because the book is static and then the material is not moving. Whereas for us, we have the video, and then with the video, again, we have just zoomed in on the screen without the distraction of a person showing the clicks, and you have got this very poor video and you can't really see anything. So here we've got very sharp video showing the computer screen and showing exactly where you need to click. If you need to open a Word document, if you need to copy information from a memory stick onto the computer, or from a CD onto the computer. So we are able to show high resolution images, videos of those activities, so that students have a profound and good knowledge of how to do those activities. And so the idea behind that is that since we are unable to be with the students in the same room, we can then provide that video as a resource, where at least if they're in the rural area, they don't have access to a computer, they will see what a computer is like. They will actually see the process, and they will have a feel of that process, rather than just at the very least watching that or looking at that in a book, or they're just saying this is a computer, right? Some students might not have a lot of access to computer technology, but in some of these videos we actually walk them through, showing them this is a CD-ROM, this is a memory stick, this is an external disk drive, and this is how you access that external disk drive, this is how you copy and paste, this is how you cut text, and this is how you change the font. And so we go through all those processes. We show you how to go on the internet. And so some of the demos that we have actually done, we have put in a lot of work in order to make them come alive and be useful to the students that might not be able to actually do those activities themselves. And so this is another resource that we believe we have that sets us apart from the competition, that we have place-based demonstrations and experiments. And what I mean by place-based experiments is that, for example, in expressive arts, right, we have a demo where students are able to make a skipping rope out of plastic bottle caps, right? And so that's our reality in Zambia. that sometimes you have these drinks, and when you get the drink, you get a bottle cup, which is made out of plastic. Well, can you then make something out of that bottle cup? So that is place-based in that it's in the Zambian scenario where you're able to find those bottle cups, and then you are able to then create some sort of art. And if we are talking about other subjects like mathematics, there are also some demonstrations with respect to how you bisect an angle, or how you you draw certain polygons, hexagons, and pentagons, and so on. So it's actually hands-on. So again, the students are able to see it precisely. So as the demo is going on, the teacher is explaining the steps that you need to undertake, and our hope is that the students on the other end are being helped along as well by the parents providing them with the resources, particularly with things that are safe to do for the students themselves, and maybe even monitoring them. But once they're able to have that, they should then practice. But then they can pause the video, stop it, right? If they didn't get it, go back, replay it. And so some of those activities are very hard to do in a classroom environment where you might have 50 students and then the teacher doesn't have enough time to devote to each individual student. So in this case, it's one-on-one basically, and you are working at your own pace, and you go through a certain process, then you pause the video, then perhaps you draw a curve, then you play the video again, and so on and so forth. So you are learning at your own pace and on your own time, but then you have the ability to control that learning process. And then again, it's engaging and interactive. And so those are some of the things that we have included and embedded in some of our videos to make this product beneficial to the parents. And so again, for 100 kwacha a month, you have access to all of that. Whereas if you're going to do that just to buy the materials, there's a cost in buying the materials. If you are going to have somebody teach the student one-on-one, it's 50 kwacha or 100 kwacha an hour, right? Whereas we've got hundreds of hours of content, and that's just 100 kwacha per month. So this is a great deal that people should try out. Try it out for yourself and see, right? And in terms of the content, watch some of the videos. We have a few videos online that we have shown for demonstration purposes, and then see even you as a parent, if you learn something, I guarantee you, even you as a parent, you will learn something by even watching some of those videos. And so if you as a parent can learn something, definitely your child is going to get great benefit from watching those videos that we have put in a lot of effort in conjunction with the ministry, I must add, right? So we just didn't do this ourselves. It's hundreds of hours of work putting these videos together, developing the content, the teachers building the content, reviewing the content, working with the ministry in tandem to make sure that the content is appropriate and is at the quality that it needs to be in order for the students to engage with it. So again, give it a try and see if this is not going to help your child to improve, whether they're behind or whether they just need to do some additional work, whether you need to keep them busy. This is a great resource for your children.